Hi everyone, and welcome to the Comm department at UCSB, and welcome to our first ever virtual transfer orientation held via Zoom. So this is the first for a lot of us, so we're making history here. We're really excited to welcome our fall 2020 incoming class of transfer students, and I want to thank you all for taking some time today to be here with us, even virtually from wherever you are. So here's what's going to happen today. First, we're going to be introducing you to our staff and provide you with a brief overview of the department. Then we're going to go over major requirements and College of Letters and Science requirements. For those of you who did watch our recorded webinar that we sent back in May to our admitted students, you'll notice that this presentation does look very, very similar. We'll revisit what we covered in that webinar, but we're also going to be adding on to that today. So we'll also be covering Fall 2020 course registration, which I know a lot of you may have questions about, as well as tips for success in the major, a quick demo of Gold so you understand how to use its functionality, and then we'll have a Q&A session, and then after the Q&A session, we will be moving on into our one-on-one individual advising meetings in private breakout rooms. So you don't need to make an appointment for the one-on-one sessions, and we'll go over how those sessions are going to work later on in the presentation. So before we jump in, for some of you, it may be your first time using Zoom. So we're gonna give some quick tips for using Zoom during this presentation. So your mic will remain muted the whole presentation, but feel free to turn on your camera so we can see your faces, but you do not have to. During the Q&A portion, we will allow you to unmute so that way you can vocalize questions. You can use the chat to communicate with our staff throughout the presentation. So feel free, if a question comes up while we're presenting, you can drop a question in the chat, and then we will wait until the Q&A session to answer them. So to practice using the chat feature, feel free to drop the city you're currently joining us from in the chat so we can see, how spread out we all are right now. And then like I mentioned earlier, check out the reactions at the bottom and you can give us a thumbs up as we go. And then after the Q&A, we will place everyone in breakout rooms and begin our one-on-one advising sessions. So we will get to everyone. We do have about over 70 participants joining us today, but we will do our best to make these meetings speedy so we can get through everyone in a timely manner so you don't have to wait too long. And then the other thing is we are recording this presentation, but we will end the recording before the Q&A session so that you can ensure your privacy. And we will email you the slides at the end of the last orientation session this upcoming Friday. So don't feel pressured to take any detailed notes because like I said, we'll be recording this and send you a recording as well as the slides. I'll also mention that I did include quite a few links in the presentation, so we wouldn't be able to click on them now over the Zoom meeting, but when I do send out the presentation at the end of this week, you would be able to pull up the slides and click on those links. So I'll mention the links as we go through the presentation. Okay, so we're gonna do some quick introductions. My name is Francesca Palomino, and I'm the Senior Undergraduate Advisor for the Department of Communication. I did receive my BA in Communication in 2017, so I'm a proud alum of UCSB. And I was actually also a transfer student from 3 different community colleges in San Diego. So joining us today is Berenice Dominguez, and I'll let her introduce herself now.
Hi everyone, my name is Berenice, and like Francesca, I'm also a UCSB alumna, class of 2019, and I also received a BA in Communication.
So we're so excited to be joining you today from our office in the beautiful Santa Barbara campus. I'm looking through the chat, I see some Laguna Beach, lots of California, IV, what's up neighbor, Torrance, Santa Cruz, very cool to see where you're all from. So we're excited to be joining you, like I said, and our business officer, Tanya, is also joining us today, and she'll assist us with moderating the chat and any technical issues that may arise. So Tanya, go ahead and introduce yourself now.
Hello, everybody. Like she said, my name is Tanya, and I'm excited to be here. I wish we could do this in person, but this is the next best thing, and you're going to learn a lot today. I was a former undergrad advisor, so I might get to meet some of you in the one-on-one chats.
Thanks. We also have 2 student peer advisors who work for our department with us today. So our peer advisors are incredibly knowledgeable about the major and the policies of the department. And because they're current students, they can give really good insight into the classes and how to be really successful in the major from their own personal experience. So I'll go ahead and let our peer advisors, Melissa and Jackie, introduce themselves now.
Hi everyone, I'm Melissa. I just finished my third year. I'm doubling in communication and geography, and I'm also minoring in applied psychology, so I've got a lot going on. And in terms of extracurriculars, I've worked in many departments on campus.
Thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Jackie. I'm a rising fourth year, majoring in comm and double minoring in applied psychology and education. In addition to my job as a peer advisor for the comm department, I also serve as a peer mentor for the Onda Student Center, and I'm involved in research through the McNair Scholarship Program.
Thank you both. So we're going to have Melissa and Jackie joining you in separate breakout rooms as well after the Q&A session. So you'll be able to chat with them and ask them questions.
All right, everyone. So first things first, we want to clear up one thing before we get started. So UCSB's major focuses on communication, which is the study of human interaction. We hear it all the time. I'm a comms major with an S, or comms major, communications major. That's actually a different field of study, which covers the distribution of messages to the masses, more like broadcasting, TV, radio, journalism, and the internet. And we want to mention this because we want you to get it right when interacting with your peers and especially your professors. Otherwise, there's a good chance you'll get corrected.
On the next slide, our social media team made some memes for you to enjoy. So really to get the point across. So it's important that you do know the difference.
Our program is known for research on communication processes and effects in relation to human interaction. Please note that this is not a business program, a public relations, marketing / advertising program, or journalism / broadcasting program. We have our mission statement up on the screen so you can understand what comm at UCSB is. And you can also find it on our website. Here we have our student learning outcomes, and you can find them in the UCSB online general catalog, which is also linked in this slide.
I'll also mention you're able to find the general catalog. The easiest way for me to find it is just Googling UCSB General Catalog. We'll be referencing the General Catalog quite a bit throughout this presentation. So I want to take a moment to briefly touch on the differences between a UC and a CSU education. So the UC system is known for its approach in developing students that have strengths in research and theory, while the CSU system is more developed for practical applications and non-research oriented careers. The UC degree programs provide students with critical thinking skills that prepare them for graduate school, research, publishing, and careers in academia. But these skills will be just as valuable to you in your career, even if that's not where you think you want to go into. Since our program is not tailored to any specific job fields, we recommend our students seek out hands-on experiences and experiential opportunities beyond the classroom to be as prepared as possible for the job market. So I have some examples of that here on the left of the screen. Many of our students seek out internships via our UCSB job search platform called Handshake. We also have student organizations, and one of them is called the Communication Association, which hosts valuable networking events for students throughout the academic year, and they're still doing virtual events this year. And then a state school just on the other side, CSU, typically focuses more on specific job areas. So like learning how to do a job, such as how to be a PR professional or a marketing professional. So those programs expose students to hands-on learning and technical job skills within and embedded into the coursework. So I hope this information just gives you a clear insight as to what to expect from your UCSB education.
So the comm major at UCSB is very broad and covers communication in 3 areas. First is interpersonal communication, which deals with how communication operates between individuals in a variety of ways. For instance, nonverbal, communication in conflict, gender communication. You might find this especially interesting if you want to go into family counseling or social work. Second is organizational communication, which deals with how comm operates among and between groups of people and within an organization. So this area is especially helpful for you if you want to go into technology, business, or management. And finally, it's mass communication, which deals with how comm operates at the mass level of society. So this is particularly useful if you want to go into the entertainment industry.
So what does research in comm actually look like? We throw that term around a lot, but it might not be clear to everybody what that actually is. So here on the screen, you'll see a couple of bullet point examples of different undergraduate research projects that students are working on this summer to assist faculty in their research. And you can actually earn units for it as well. So one of the examples is a student right now this summer is working with a faculty member to examine remote onboarding and training of new employees that have been hired at various companies throughout this COVID-19 pandemic. Compared to face-to-face onboarding, and seeing and looking at what the difference is between how an employee feels socialized to a new organization based on if they were onboarded in person versus virtually. So pretty cool research happening in our department. That's just one of the many examples.
So to give you an overview of our department, we currently have 22 active professors who are conducting research in addition to teaching courses. We also have 4 lecturers who primarily teach courses, and we have 35 graduate students enrolled in our PhD program. Many of them will be your TAs in your lower division courses and your instructors in your upper division courses. Then of course, there's all of you, more than 2,000 undergraduate students. Our incoming transfer class this year is of about 450 students, which is our largest yet. So we're very excited for you all to join us, and we want to make a personal connection with each of you.
All right, so what can you do with a BA in communication? A degree in comm, because it's so broad, will provide you with a really wide variety of career options and industries. So the ones that you see on screen are just some of the most common ones that we see our alumni go into, but this degree is also really good preparation for if you're interested in going into a professional program or grad school, or something like law school, business, healthcare, etc. So you might be wondering, what's the difference between pre-comm and comm? I know I was admitted to pre-comm, but what does that mean? All students enter UCSB as a pre-comm major, so even if you completed the pre-comm requirements already. So some of you still have 1 or more pre-comm classes left to complete before you're eligible for the comm major, so you would be pre-comm. Some of you have already completed the pre-comm major, but you still need to submit a change of major petition in order for your major to change from pre-comm to comm. And you'll have a chance to ask questions about that during our one-on-one sessions, if that's you. And then some of you have already submitted your change of major petition, and so you've already been processed from the pre-comm major to the comm major, and you're set to go.
Okay, so what is pre-communication? In order to declare the communication major and take upper division comm courses, you do need to first satisfy the pre-major requirements, and there are 4 pre-comm classes. Across these 4 pre-comm classes, students must complete them with a 3.0 UC GPA or higher. Finishing the pre-major requirements at your previous institution is a guaranteed way to declare the major. If you have not completed all 4 pre-comm courses, then please know that you're not behind, but since comm is not a guaranteed major, we do recommend that students begin thinking about and prepare for an alternate major in the case that they become ineligible for the comm major. You can finish your remaining pre-comm courses at a community college if you'd like, while also being enrolled at UCSB, and this would actually bypass our 3.0 GPA requirement. And if you'd like to find out which courses do articulate with any of our pre-major requirements, make sure to check assist.org. Now, if you submitted your unofficial transcripts for review, you should have received an email to your UCSB email account letting you know which of the pre-major courses you've satisfied and which ones you have left to take. So please take some time now to pull up the transcript review email so you can have it as a reference when we discuss fall enrollment during the presentation. If you didn't get a transcript review email from us, that's because you did not submit your unofficial transcripts or they weren't submitted on time. We won't be able to assist you as well during our one-on-one advising session unless you did receive a transcript review from us, but we'll do our best and review the transcripts if we have them available. If we requested a syllabus or a change of major petition from you, be sure to send that to us as soon as possible. Some of you have already completed equivalents or some or all of these courses at your previous college, with the most common being statistics. If you have more than 1 pre-comm class left to take and you want to take them at UCSB, then know that it is not a good idea to take them all together in the same quarter, even if they're offered every quarter. So for example, if you have to complete Comm 1, 88, and 89, then we would recommend that you spread them out across fall, winter, and spring quarters of your junior year. It is still possible to graduate on time with proper planning, and we'll show you some examples of that in a little bit. There's no order in which the classes have to be taken, so we do urge students to sign up for whichever course fits best into your schedule every quarter. However, if you do want better insight to the comm major at UCSB, you're still kind of unsure of whether it's a major for you, then we do recommend the intro course Comm 1 or theories course Comm 89. If you haven't already satisfied the Comm 87 statistics requirement with an equivalent course, this is the only course that you could potentially double up with, but if possible, we say it's best not to. For any of you that do need assistance with statistics, we do make a note that we do have the Campus Learning Assistance Services on campus, or they also go by CLAS.
Which is our tutoring, basically like a tutoring service.
Okay, so let's talk about pre-major requirements. As we mentioned earlier, you do need to attain a 3.0 GPA based on the pre-major courses you take at UCSB. Letter grades for any prerequisites taken at a non-UC institution will not be factored into your pre-major GPA. So this means that if you took a stats course at a CC, then you will need to attain a 3.0 across Comm 1, 88, and 89 at UCSB. If you're transferring from another UC campus and you took a pre-major course there such as statistics or research methods, the grade you earned will factor into your pre-major GPA. There are some exceptions to the UC GPA rule that apply to classes taken through UC extension programs. Please also note that if you've already taken a stats course at a community college that satisfies our requirement, then the statistics requirement, you will not be allowed to take Comm 87 or PSTAT 5A at UCSB since you've already earned credit for that requirement. All pre-major courses taken at UCSB must be taken for a letter grade, not pass, no pass. If you do take a pre-major course as pass, no pass as a pre-major student, then you will be ineligible for the pre-comm major. All pre-major requirements must be completed before completing 144 units to ensure a timely graduation.
I just want to reiterate the classes must be taken for a letter grade, not pass, no pass. We actually just had a situation where a student took a class pass, no pass. And even though they did really well in the class, they're no longer eligible for the comm major. So be sure you're paying attention to the grading option. So we're gonna next read some examples of some transfer students to help you understand how the pre-major GPA is actually calculated. So Tyler is transferring to UCSB as a pre-comm major from Miracosta College, which happens to be one of the colleges I went to. He completed the equivalent of Comm 1 and Comm 87 at the community college and earned A's in both of these courses. So we'll give you a few seconds to think about the answers to the following questions. Number 1, what pre-comm classes does Tyler need to take at UCSB? And number 2, when we're calculating Tyler's pre-major GPA, which courses grades will be factored in? So again, take a second to think about the answers in your head.
Number 1, Tyler still needs to take Comm 88 and 89 at UCSB. And number 2, when calculating Tyler's pre-major GPA, we will be using only the grades he earns in Comm 88 and 89. So you'll see on the left side example that if Tyler takes Comm 88 in the fall and doesn't do so well and earns a C+, then he needs to earn a grade of A- in Comm 89 in the winter to raise it to a 3.0. And on the right side example, if he gets a B+ in Comm 89, his pre-major GPA will be below a 3.0, so he won't be eligible for the comm major.
All right, so we'll go ahead and read another example. Veronica is transferring to UCSB from the College of the Canyons. She earned her associate's degree in comm studies and took a lot of comm-related courses at her community college. She's fulfilled the Comm 1, 87, and 88 requirements, but her community college does not offer a Theories of Communication course. So, number 1, which pre-major courses does Veronica still need to take at UCSB, and what grade does she need? And number 2, which grades will be factored into her pre-major GPA? So again, we'll give you another second to think about what the answer might be. Use this as an opportunity to quiz yourself.
So number 1, Veronica must take Comm 89 at UCSB and earn a grade of B or better. And when calculating Veronica's pre-major GPA, we will be using only the grade she earned in Comm 89. So you'll see on the left side example that if Veronica gets a B in Comm 89, she is eligible for the major since she received a 3.0. And on the right side example, if she gets a B- in Comm 89, her pre-major GPA will be below a 3.0, so she will not be eligible for the comm major.
All right, so you might be thinking, well, I usually get straight A's at my community college. So if a 3.0 is a B average, won't that be really easy? It is important not to disregard our warnings about the rigorous GPA requirements, because many of you are used to the 16-week semester system and will need time to adjust to the pace of a 10-week quarter system, which, believe us, it goes by really quickly. Week 1, you're just settling into class, and by week 2, you might already have a quiz, a paper due, and by week 3, maybe even a midterm. So UCSB courses will be more rigorous than community college courses, and I also want to point out that they're 5 units, which is going to be more than your average 4-unit class, which is typically the average at UCSB. So it's going to require additional time and workload. And on top of that, we're also all adjusting to the remote work environment and the remote learning environment. So you don't want to overwhelm yourself by taking more than one prereq at a time, just because there's so much transition and change happening right now. Another thing to note is the UCSB courses use a plus and minus grading system, unlike a typical community college where all of the letter grades will just be the solid letter grade, no pluses or minuses. So for example, at UCSB, a grade of an 82% would be a B minus, whereas at a CC, that would still count as a B. So B minus is putting you below that 3.0 GPA threshold. So you'd need to balance it back out with a B plus with another pre-major class to average 3.0. So we really mean it when we say we want you to succeed. And the best way to do that is to, 1, listen to our advice, but 2, prepare yourself for a higher level of academic rigor than you're used to and employ new steady habits. All right, so real talk. We've discussed all of the pre-major requirements, but we do need to be realistic and talk about what happens if you don't meet the pre-major GPA requirements. All right, so if you earn a C- or lower in a pre-comm course, you will be able to repeat it, but if you earn a grade of C or better, you cannot repeat the course. We do have an appeals process for students who fall short of the GPA requirement under very, very unique and extenuating circumstances, so it's not a good idea to bank on an appeal. And then in order to be as fair as possible to all students, we do not make exceptions to our policies. So students who do not meet our requirements must begin making progress toward another major. This isn't the worst thing in the world though. While we do love the communication major at UCSB, I want to note that since UCSB degrees are not job specific, any major at UCSB will prepare you to think critically, analyze research, and apply theories to real world events and issues. If you do have to take any pre-comm classes at UCSB, it's a good idea to prepare an alternate major just in case, so you don't spend your whole junior year completing the pre-comm major just to have to start from scratch with a new major at the start of your senior year. And trust us, we see it happen all the time. So too long didn't read. If you take nothing else from this presentation, it's to take the pre-major courses seriously and one at a time.
All right, so here are some tips for success in the pre-major. Let's see. So in order to be successful in the pre-major, we do urge all of you to take your pre-major courses one at a time. Once again, following this advice will highly increase your chances of excelling and meeting the 3.0 GPA requirement. There is a UCSB GPA calculator that you can use to track your pre-major GPA and calculate hypothetical grade combinations, and it's super helpful. Make sure to treat pre-major courses as priorities. Again, each course is 5 units, so you can definitely expect additional work and rigor as opposed to other lower division courses. It's also really important to keep in mind that although courses are being taught remotely at this time, that doesn't necessarily mean that courses will be easier, so do not underestimate any of these prerequisites. And we really want to encourage you all to attend your TAs and professors' office hours to get additional help, clarify any questions, and really get to know them. Alrighty, so the upper division major consists of 40 units, and which are approximately 10 courses of 4 units each. To receive credit toward the major, all upper division communication courses must be taken for a letter grade. Keep in mind that a 2.0 GPA in the major is required at the time of graduation. Unlike the pre-comm major, students can double up on comm courses or take up to 4 1/4, although we wouldn't recommend it for your first quarter. Upper division comm courses cannot be taken until all pre-major courses have been completed. Summer is the only exception where upper div comm courses are open to students of all majors. However, we don't recommend that pre-major students take upper division comm prior to completing all the prereqs, just in case that students either switch majors or they become ineligible for the upper division major. Now, if you do want to get started with earning upper division major credit, then there are a few upper division comm elective course options that are listed on our major sheet linked here that can later count toward the comm major while fulfilling upper division unit requirements. Please note that only a maximum of 4 major elective units can be applied to the comm major. Finally, if you are considering studying abroad, please begin exploring the Education Abroad program website now, and then you'll want to contact an advisor during mid-fall when we have more time to help with long-term planning. You'll also want to note that at least half of your upper division comm coursework, which is 20 units, must be completed at UCSB.
All right, so earlier in our presentation, we talked about the 3 unofficial emphases in our major. So this slide just shows you a handful of some of the upper division courses that we offer, categorized by unofficial emphases. Feel free to visit our online general catalog for a full list of all the courses and descriptions of everything that we offer. But this will give you a better idea of what to expect from your major coursework once you're eligible for the major. So again, I want to reiterate that you would not be able to take upper division comm courses, which are these courses on the slide, and they're numbered 100 through 199 until you have completed all of the pre-comm courses. So I also want to briefly go over our major sheet. Hopefully it's clear enough to see, but if not, you can also find our major sheet in the general catalog. So it shows you the 4 pre-major classes, which like I mentioned are 5 units each. And then once all of those are completed, then students will be able to move on to the upper division comm major, which requires 40 units. So since every class is about 4 units each, that adds up to 10 classes. So the whole major start to finish is 14 classes, which is definitely doable in 6 quarters. All right, so there's a couple of notes here, but I just want to mention the third one. You can read the fine print on your own time. But the third one is that like we mentioned, there are a couple of classes from other departments that you can apply towards the comm major 40 upper division units at a maximum of 4 units. So you wouldn't be able to apply 2 of these courses towards the major, only 1. So these are just some examples, but I just want to make sure that it's clear that not all of these classes may be eligible for an incoming transfer student to take. So some classes might be restricted to their majors only, like for example, this political science class. Maybe only poli-sci majors can take that. So if you were to double with common poli-sci, then you might be able to take that. I can't speak for all of those classes because I don't know the individual restrictions for each of them. So it's up to you to check GOLD and see if they're offered. And if they are offered, what restrictions and prerequisites they may have. So we understand that it might be confusing to figure out what units and courses you'll need to take to graduate from UCSB. So that's why we have this really cool diagram that's on the left side that we usually like to call it a tree chart because it looks like a tree. Use your imagination. You'll see a visual breakdown of what's needed to graduate. So all students need either a total of 180 or 184 total units, quarter units that is, to graduate from UCSB, and that's depending on if you did or did not complete IGETC in your language requirement. So again, you'll want to note that semester units multiplied by 1.5 equals quarter units. So that means if you finished 60 semester units at your previous institution, that's going to be the equivalent of 90 quarter units. So this is just an example, as noted by this wonderful red text on the side, that an average transfer student might be coming in with 60 semester units or 90 quarter units, which means that to reach their total of 180, they have 90 units remaining. So that you'll see this number here at the top. And the majority of our students will be transferring in with 90, but anywhere between 90 and 105 lower division quarter units, or potentially more if you did take any AP tests in high school or if you're transferring from another 4-year institution. But for those of you who are just coming from a community college, the maximum quarter units you can transfer in with is 105. So again, in this example, we have a student that completed 90 units at their previous college, leaving 90 units to complete at UCSB. So that's the number here at the top. So the College of Letters and Science requires all students to complete 60 upper division units. And again, I want to clarify, upper division means courses that are numbered 100 through 199. So you'll see 60 units will need to be upper division. So that's something that every student needs to complete. And as we mentioned on the previous slide, the comm major requires you complete 40 units that are upper division, or about 10 upper division comm courses. So 40 is not enough to cover the minimum needed to graduate, which is 60. So that means that all students will need to take at least 20 upper division units of elective to meet the minimum graduation requirements, which adds up to be about 5 upper division courses if we're going off the fact that most classes tend to be about an average of 4 units each. So these two numbers together are going to add up to be 60 upper division units, but 60 is not going to cover your total 90 units needed. So you may need additional units outside of your upper division unit requirement to hit your total needed to graduate. So if you have to take any pre-major courses at UCSB, those are all numbered 1 through 99, Comm 1, Comm 87, 88, 89. So those are considered lower division, so those units will count over on this side of the equation. So again, this number plus this number plus this number is going to all add up to your total units needed to graduate. So after week 2 of fall quarter is when we'll actually have time to meet with students one-on-one for more long-term planning. Again, today we'll be meeting with you one-on-one, but only to talk about fall. So if you need help or assistance creating your own tree chart, we can help you with that once we slow down after week 2 of fall quarter. And you can also make your tree chart yourself using the major progress check in gold, which we'll go over how to read that as well during our presentation today. So now I have 5 examples that I'm going to go through very briefly, but you'll probably find one that falls really closely to your unique situation. So this sample student has 90 units completed when they transferred in. They didn't take any pre-comm classes before coming to UCSB, but they did have their IGETC certification. So like I said, it is possible to graduate in 2 years or 6 quarters with proper planning, and this is an example of what that schedule might look like. I do see a lot of students who want to double up because they want to get moving and want to get done with the pre-comm major so they can get started on their upper division comm classes. But I just want to show you that it's possible to graduate in 2 years while still following our advice to spread them out. Again, Comm 87 is the only class that we would say, if needed, absolutely necessary, you could double up, but we wouldn't recommend it. But for this student, that might be the best case scenario. So our next sample, we have a student that transferred in with 105 units and needs 3 of the 4 pre-comm classes. So this is usually one of the most common cases we see. They already completed stats at their last college and they have 3 pre-comm classes to go and they have their IGETC. So in this case, this student would be able to graduate in 2 years as well by taking 1 pre-comm class per quarter their first year and then finishing all the upper division comm classes their senior year. And then the pre-comm classes would cover all of their upper or lower division unit requirements, so they wouldn't need any other lower division units, so they would just need to take these classes, their elective classes, and then their major classes once they're in the upper division major. And again, no need to take notes. Like I said, we'll be emailing these slides out after the presentation, after all the presentations are over on Friday. So the next sample is a student that came in with 105 units and finished all of pre-comm and has a IGETC. So you'll see it's kind of a lighter course load, but they're able to still graduate in 2 years. And then on the next slide, it's the same situation, except for this student is trying to graduate early. So if you came in with 105 units and you finished pre-comm already, like at Santa Barbara City College, for example, and you have your IGETC, it is possible to graduate in 1 year. That's an example of what that would look like. And then our last sample, this student has 90 units completed. They have all of the pre-comm done and they have IGETC. So this is again a sample of graduating in 2 years. So this student has quite a few electives to complete to reach their total of 180 or 90 needed at UCSB. So that's a really great opportunity for a minor or a double major. All right, so you're wondering, what classes do I enroll in fall? So we recommend that all of our incoming students start out with no more than 3 classes in their first quarter. Trust me, the quarter system goes by fast. 3 classes does not sound like a lot for students who are used to taking 5 classes at a time, but trust us, your first quarter, you'll be glad that you did. So anywhere between 12 to 13 units your first quarter. So there's 3 different categories that all of you fall under. Either you are a pre-comm student and you have at least 1 or more pre-comm classes to take at UCSB before you're eligible for the comm major. So if that's you, this would be your recommended course schedule for fall. You would want to take 1 pre-comm course, whichever one you choose, and then 2 upper division elective courses. So those are going to be about 4 units each. And again, upper division electives, anything numbered 100 through 199 for a total of 13 units your first quarter. So now here in the middle section, if you have completed the pre-comm major requirements, but your change of major petition has not been processed yet. So either you have not submitted it yet, or you already submitted it, but it hasn't actually updated in gold yet. If that's you, during your PASS 2, which will be, for some of you, next week, you'll want to enroll in 3 upper division electives during your first PASS, or your PASS 2. And the reason why you need to enroll in something is because you cannot waitlist for any classes unless you're enrolled in 12 units. So you won't be able to enroll in any upper division comm classes until your major under your registration tab says comm. If it says pre-comm, the system will not allow you to enroll in upper division comm classes. So you'll just have to be patient and wait for that to change. But in the meantime, it's important that you get in some classes in the event that all of the comm classes are full by the time that your major status has updated. So for you, I would recommend enroll in 3 electives during PASS 2. So that way you have 12 units, so you can add yourself to comm waitlists. And then during PASS 3, you would be able to, hopefully by then your major has changed to upper division comm. And then you would be able to add 1 or 2 upper div comm courses if there's some available, and then drop 1 or 2 of your elective courses. So you'd have a total of 12 units. And lastly, if you already completed the pre-comm major, like I said at SBCC, for example, and you're already processed into the upper division major, so that means when you go into the registration tab in gold and you see it says comm, C-O-M-M, then you will be eligible to register for comm classes, upper division comm classes, when your registration opens. So I would recommend enrolling in 1 to 2 comm classes for a total of 4 or 8 units, and then also 1 to 2 elective courses. So again, a total of 12 units for your first quarter. And the reason I don't recommend taking all upper div comm courses your first quarter is because sometimes it's nice to take a break and not be too bogged down with all comm classes. And you need elective courses anyway, so you might as well kind of spread them out instead of just taking all comm classes your first quarter. All right, so a question that we get all the time is, what is an upper division elective? So I'll just go over this again. Upper division courses are any course numbered 100 through 199, and that's specifically to the UC system. Electives are any course that do not apply to your major requirements. So if it's not comm, if the first 3 letters of the course is not C-O-M-M, then that means that it's an elective. So prior to registration, we recommend that you search for several upper division electives outside of the comm major, so that way you can meet classes that you meet the restrictions and the requirements for, and you can check that in the course info of the course, for in case your preferred courses fill up. So it's a good idea to have a lot of backups. If you decide to wait until your pass time to begin searching for upper division electives, by then most of them will be full. So it's a really good idea to begin looking for those ahead of time and have backups. And just as an example, if any of you are enrolled in our Transfer Edge summer program, right now you're taking INT 188C and Ed 117M. So because these courses are not comm, they're considered electives, and because they're numbered between 100 and 199, they're considered upper division. So I do want to talk about what electives you might want to be interested in taking. That's another question we get all the time. Our goal as major advisors is to help you plan your major requirements. So that means when it comes to picking out electives, that's completely up to you to decide. Many of you might be thinking, I know which pre-comm or comm courses I'm going to take, but what electives should I be taking? And the answer to that is really anything that is interesting to you. So one option when you're considering what electives to take is to consider planning for an alternate major. And that's for those folks who still have pre-comm classes to take at UCSB. So you have something to fall back on in the event you don't meet our 3.0 GPA requirement. Like I mentioned, it happens, I see it all the time where students didn't plan ahead and then are completely shocked and have to start over from scratch, which is not a fun conversation to have. So planning for an alternate major is one way to pick electives. And then best case scenario is if you do get into the comm major, that those classes that you took aren't for nothing because they are going towards your overall unit requirements, But in addition to that, they may also apply if you wanted to do a double major or a minor. So if you are thinking about double majoring or minoring already, be sure to contact the undergrad advisor or the department that sponsors that major or minor as soon as possible. So that way you can help plan out how those requirements will work alongside your comm requirements. And then if you're having any difficulty finding courses that are open, the UC system has the cross-campus enrollment program, which allows UC students to enroll in online courses at other UC institutions. So for example, our campus UC Davis has a lot of communication courses that they offer, so our students can enroll in those classes online through this cross-campus enrollment program. And then again, you can find all of UCSB's different major and minor offerings in the general catalog. So again, just Google search UCSB general catalog or UCSB list of minors or UCSB list of majors to help you. You can see the major sheets for all of those majors or minors to help you look at what classes you might need for those if you're interested in that. Another question we get is, what's a good double major or minor to pair with comm? And since comm is so broad and interdisciplinary, we like to say that everything is good with comm. So we encourage you to explore other courses outside of comm to see where your interests are and where they intersect with communication. A lot of students choose to double major in very closely aligned social sciences or arts and humanities. So like film and media studies, as popular psychology, sociology, anthropology, linguistics, global studies, or education minor, or other really popular ones. So like I said, be sure to visit the general catalog linked on our slide and view those just ahead of time, just so you get an idea of what else is offered at UCSB. So one upper division elective that I will recommend would be Education 118. And the reason I recommend this class is because it's designed specifically for transfer students and because it's upper division. So this course introduces students to the mission of the research university and the role of higher education. And it's not a mandatory course, but I would recommend it, especially if you're still scratching your head and wondering what upper division electives to pick. This is one of them that I would recommend. So now I'm going to talk about registering for classes. So you use GOLD, which is Gaucho Online Data, to enroll in your classes. And the first thing you're going to do when you log into GOLD is you're going to go to the registration tab here. So make sure that you are looking at the correct quarter. So you'll want to make sure it says fall 2020. And then all transfer students are starting with Pass 2. So you'll see that for registration Pass 1, it'll say NA. Don't freak out, that's correct. It should say that. So all students are coming in on Pass 2, and it's really important to take a look at this date and the time as well, and put that date in your phone, set a reminder, set an alarm, set several alarms. I know this from personal experience because you don't want to miss when you're going to be registering for classes because they will fill up very quickly. So I'd recommend paying attention to this date and then also the second date listed, because past times are actually a range. So what that means is you have a period of time where you're able to register and then that closes. So the window opens, the window closes. So then you won't be able to register after it's closed until your Pass 3 window opens again. So just be mindful of those dates there. And then another thing to be mindful of is all of these deadlines here on the side. You wouldn't believe how many emails we get that ask, what's the drop deadline? And it's right here in gold. So be sure to be mindful of those deadlines. And if you are thinking you may need to drop a class, check those ahead of time and maybe have those in your calendar as well. So again, I want you to encourage you to all look through gold prior to registration and have all of your courses picked out ahead of time and backups in case the ones you want are full or you're not eligible to enroll in them. So that way when the time comes, you're not scrambling and frantic. And then you also may see that courses in the comm department look full prior to the first registration for transfer students on August 19th. And the reason they look full is because we're holding seats for our incoming students, so all of you. So you may be like, okay, I need to take comm 89, and then you'll go and look in gold and you're like, wait, it says it's full, how am I gonna get in? That's going to change prior to registration opening. So like I said, we're just holding them back. You may see that in other departments, but I can't speak on behalf of other departments, so I don't know if those classes in other departments are actually full or if they're also holding seats. And then lastly on this slide, I do want to point out that the College of Letters and Science department website has Gold tutorial videos on their website. So if you find yourself getting stuck while you're going through Gold and need help with anything, I'd recommend starting with that or reviewing your orientation module so you can go through all the different functionalities in Gold. So waitlisting for classes. There's a good chance that anytime during your UCSB experience, you will need to waitlist a class because a class that you want is going to be full. So I want to really reiterate that you need to be enrolled in 12 units to be able to waitlist for a class, and that's to prevent you from having an empty schedule. So for lower division courses, you'll also notice when you click the add to the waitlist button, these little check boxes will appear. And so you'll need to check off as many as possible. The more that you check off, the more likely it is that you get into the class. You're basically checking off your preferences for which section times that you would be, which would be your preference. So by not checking them all, you're kind of limiting your chances of getting in the class. So I would check all of those off and be as flexible as possible. And then I want to point out the grading option. So I mentioned earlier, all comm classes must be taken for a letter grade. So you'll see that that's where you would choose the grading option is when you go to register for the class. So it's a little drop-down menu. So the default for most classes is going to be letter grade. And you'll also see that some classes that you try to enroll in may not have an option. So it's either one way or the other. You don't have the option to choose. And then you'll also notice the course linking function. I think this is my absolute favorite part of Gold. The course linking function allows you to link a course that you want to waitlist with a course that you're enrolled in. And the reason why this is beneficial is because you'll notice on the last slide that you have limits to how many units you can enroll in per pass period. So for pass 2, the limit I believe is 19 units. So if you wanted to waitlist a class, but that's going to put you over 19 units, you'll get an error message. So that's when you would want to use the linking function and link it with a less desired course that you are enrolled in. So it doesn't count against you towards your unit maximum. And then what would happen is if you end up getting off the waitlist and automatically enrolled in the class, it would drop you from the class that you linked it to. One last thing I want to point out is the position on the waitlist. So a lot of you may be used to a waitlist that is on a first come, first served basis. In the Department of Communication, we want our students who have the higher unit standing to be able to get into classes because they're the closest to graduation. So that makes the most sense to our department. So for that reason, you may see your unit or your waitlist position change. You may be number 4 on the waitlist one day and all of a sudden you're number 8 and you're like, wait, I don't understand. How did I move away? How did I get farther away on the wait list instead of closer? And the reason why is because a student with more units completed than you may have added to the wait list. So you'll see that change. And again, that's the fairest way possible to ensure that students that are closest to graduation are getting the classes that they need. We have more information about our waitlist policy listed on our website and linked here on this slide. So I recommend you go visit there and read through that. All right, and then another really helpful tool in Gold is the advanced search function. And this is what I would recommend using for finding upper division elective courses. That's one of the biggest questions we get is how do I actually find upper division electives? Is there a list somewhere? And the answer is no, there's not a list somewhere because upper division electives vary depending on the person. So if I'm an education minor, then an education course may be going towards my minor requirements, but to another student, education courses are just electives because they're not applying to any requirements. So hopefully that's a good example. So using the advanced search, so when you go into the Find Courses tab in Gold, again, you want to make sure you're on the right quarter, and then you'll see the switch to advanced search. So don't use the basic search, go to the advanced search. So once you click on this advanced search button, you'll see this window pop up here, and it's going to show you, again, the quarter. And then to search for upper division courses, you'll want to adjust the course level to undergraduate upper division. And then if you click begin search, it will actually just show you every single upper division class. And then it's up to you to read the course description to see if it seems interesting to you. And then also read the, you'll click on the course info button to see the course description. And then you'll also see a tab for prerequisites and for restrictions. So you'll want to check both of those tabs as well to make sure that you meet those. So for example, an upper division math class is probably going to be restricted to math majors only, so you're probably not going to be eligible to take that class. So when you're picking out electives, you want to make sure you check that. And then another thing you can do at the bottom is check off some of these boxes. So you can check off only open sections, so it'll only show you classes that have seats available, or classes that don't have prerequisites, or classes that don't have restrictions. So these are helpful as well in narrowing your search, but it won't actually let you search with these criteria unless you select a subject area. So you'll want to go in here and pick a subject area that sounds interesting to you. Otherwise, it'll give you an error message. So I would recommend kind of toggling on and off these different filters and searching for your classes. And I'm specifically referring to electives. All right, another function of this gold is seeing your progress as you go, kind of like a checklist of all of your requirements for graduation. So the major progress check is found under this progress tab. And then you'll see here there's a tab that says major progress check. And then next to it, you'll also see your new student profile. I really want to point out that your new student profile reflects only what you transferred in with to UCSB, but it will not update after that. So to check your academic progress throughout your years at UCSB, you would want to check your major progress check. I said check a lot of times. So you would click the Run the Major Progress Check button to actually run the check, and it'll show you a list of all the requirements that you have left to complete at UCSB. So most of the time when you have advising questions, usually they can be answered by checking your major progress check. Check. All right, so I also want to note the difference between a major department advisor and a college advisor. And also a lot of you may be used to the language that you may be used to using the word counselor at your previous college. At UCSB, our academic advisors are not counselors, so just want to make that kind of clear to all of you. So you have major department advisors, and so Berenice and I are major department advisors, and we focus specifically on helping students with their major course planning, any prerequisites for the major, declaring the major, questions about major policies. And so if you have any questions outside of that, so anything regarding electives or anything like that, you would want to ask the College of Letters and Science advisors. So those are the advisors you would go to for asking about graduation unit limits or IGETC or GE requirements if you have any of those, as well as grading options or changing your major or adding another major or a minor, or any other supplemental opportunities. So I just want to be clear that there's two sets of advisors. So you go to your major advisors for major questions and the college advisors for everything else. So major department advisors, which is us, we can be contacted by remotely. Right now, we're doing all of our advising via email, and we can be contacted with this email address right here to answer your questions. And then for College of Letters and Science advisors, if you have questions for them, they're available remotely via email at this email address right here, transferadvising@ltsc.ucsb.edu. But they're also available for phone appointments via this link here. So I would recommend if you have any questions outside of comm to contact the College of Letters and Science advisors. All right, so here's some tips on getting the most out of your time at UCSB. Our website has a ton of useful information, including answers to your most frequently asked questions. So I recommend you spend some time exploring it.
You also don't want to miss a deadline or any great opportunities, so make sure that you're always checking your UCSB email on a daily basis, since that's pretty much how we'll be directly communicating with you all.
Yep. And be sure to read over the major sheet, including all the fine print.
And check in with both of your major advisors and your College of Letters and Science advisors to review your progress and make sure that you're meeting both sets of requirements.
Graduate, I finished my 40 operative comm, and we're like, oh, did you see the College of Letters and Science requirements? You still have some more to complete. Our next advice is to go to class and enjoy it.
And again, meet up with your professors and TAs during their office hours.
And a lot of them are doing remote office hours via Zoom, which has been really cool to see. And then participate in research. So research is also happening remotely, so still very cool to participate in. Definitely recommend.
And we also really encourage you all to participate in extracurricular activities. I know it may seem a little difficult at the moment because of everything being remote, but it's been an experience also seeing these organizations accommodate to the current circumstances. So there's definitely still things to do, people to meet and network with. Networking,
developing a network is going to be key in helping you not only during your time at UCSB, but also after you graduate as you navigate the post-grad world.
And finally, start exploring your post-grad plans early. It's never too early to begin planning ahead and seeing what you're interested in and what you'd like to do after your time here at UCSB.
All right, so our next steps to what to do after this presentation. I recommend you explore Gold and check out your new student profile and your major progress check. And then number 2, plan a tentative fall schedule with multiple backups in case you don't get your first choices. And then lastly, if you have not already done so, be sure that your official transcripts are on file with the UCSB Office of Admissions to clear any registration blocks. And then also review the online transfer orientation module again and again and again and again, and watch the Gold tutorial videos to really make sure that you're prepared and ready to enroll when the time comes. And then submit your unofficial transcripts to the Comm department for review and help with schedule planning if you have not already done so. So next we want you to save the date. We have an event coming up on Tuesday, September 29th. We don't have the time yet, but you'll get an email to your UCSB email, so look out for that. But we'll be hosting a virtual welcome event with workshops to help you get prepared for fall courses. And then if you do have any questions, most of them are answered already on our frequently asked questions for transfer students specifically on our website. So we guarantee you'll find the answers to most of the questions that you have on our website. So I recommend you check that out.